your health, your family, the joy of food, of music, of sex, of friendships. If you really examine, and we need to do this as part of this course, if you really examine, you are also highly dependent. You just observe during the day, your life, weeks, months. Make a diary of the things that you are dependent upon. You will find there are thousands of them. Thousands of them. So as a result of this, our Shastra says, please, don't think of yourself as now an educated person. Even though you may have a PhD in science, technology, in medicine, those don't really mean anything. It don't mean anything from the standpoint of the next level of education. Just like in the case of a non-educated person, the person might know which one is east, which one is west, which one is north, south, etc. There's a few knowledges that he has, but don't mean anything. The joy of knowledge, of independence, of reveling into even Vyavaharika knowledge is enormous. The person cannot understand it. And the issue is that we as human beings feel that we have arrived. We are now educated and we are very busy with our lives. We think everything that needs to be done has been done, and we were just implementing our life more or less well to the best of our knowledge. The Shastra says, please, no. You are basically uneducated. And you cannot say, okay, fine, let me be uneducated. So what? Okay, that's nothing else I can do about it, and so on. I'm happy. But if you really examine your life, you will find that even this level of education, which is Vyavaharika education, limits your options, limits your sense of freedom. You are in fact highly dependent. And the reason that we don't inquire any further is because we don't know if there is have a higher level of education. What are you talking about? This is it. You ask everybody around, you collect, supposing you do an election, or just some, what's it called?
Poll survey.
More than, the one that France went through. What is it called? Oh, England also went through. Referendum. That's the word I was looking for. Referendum. Suppose you do a referendum of the entire humanity, 7 billion people, and you ask them, hey, there's this guy who says that we are uneducated. There is in fact a higher level of education. Do you agree with that? I don't think, other than maybe 4 or 5 dozen people, and the rest of them will keep quiet, the ones who really know, They won't even say anything. The rest of the 7 billion people will say, what are you talking about? This is it. This is life. Live it. Enjoy. Suffer. And then give up. That's it. What others' education are you talking about? So it's a very funny situation, really speaking, that, and we are in the Kali Yuga where such education is not easily available. Not easily available. It's kind of like everybody thinks that the earth is flat. Even if we knew at one time that the earth was not flat, now we've reverted back to the feeling that the earth is flat. Not easily available. But you know what? Truth does not require a referendum. You can have 7 billion people who say this, but if it is not true, it is not true. So the Shastra says, listen, the reason life seems to be such burdensome, the reason why the entire creation seems to be faulty, the reason why there's a disbelief and a distrust towards Ishvara is because you're taking a wrong view of what the truth is. You are uneducated. You are a mudha. Mudha means you are a foolish person, just like a person who doesn't know how to count and has to use his thumb is called mudha. Bevakoof in Hindi. Idiot, as Swami Dayanandaji, his favorite word was idiot. We used to cringe every time he will say idiot. We are really idiots. You know, it's one thing that if you don't know what you don't know, but to be totally convinced that you know what you don't know and you don't need to know anymore is the ultimate idiocy. Anyway, so the Shastra says no. Because you can even see that the aspirations of every living being, especially human beings, is unfulfilled. This is the reason why we can say that this is uneducated life. Because there's something not quite right. And that's what keeps problems coming over and over again. That's why deaths occur and you don't learn anything from it. You don't Swami Dayananda used to say, this is called Smashana Vairagya. Smashana Vairagya. Here something funny happens. Especially if a young person dies and you go to the funeral, your mind becomes temporarily wiser. And you say, wow, what is life? Good heavens, I'm wasting my time. I was getting angry at my wife just this morning. It's useless. Why do I get angry at people? Here's a person who's died and the life is so short. You're talking to yourself. You're talking to yourself and then you're very contemplative. When the funeral is going on, your mind is very sattvic and your vairagya is real. And then Swamiji used to say when he comes back, then you find that he comes home and the door was unlocked and his wife was supposed to lock it. So he gets mad at her again. I tell you, you're going to ruin me one day. You don't lock the house. We were gone for the funeral for 4 days. What happened to the vairagya? Gone. It was only there for like an hour while the ceremony was going on and mantras being done and so on and so forth. You're back again to the same thing. All you're saying, I used to get mad at my wife. Why do I get mad at? Same thing will come back again. So really speaking, where the lack of education, the expression of the lack of education is felt by the fact that our life remains unfulfilled, and it is lived unintelligently. And unintelligently meaning, I have not inquired into what is true education, what is called Paramartha Jnanam, Paramarthika Jnanam. I have not found it, even when the hints come. Lots of hints are given. Don't say that, I haven't found the right guru, and so many people come. But you're too busy. Too busy. The only gift you get is when you get seriously ill and you're not dead yet. Somehow you recover from it, and so on and so forth. Then there's a possibility of your life change. But again, no. So Shastra says that the reason why this whole thing doesn't seem to make any sense is because you are not educated in the way it should be. You haven't studied the matter. And if you study it, and if you grasp it, and you lead your life sincerely with respect to what is being taught, wondrous things will happen. What will happen? Your sense of dependency will go down. You will discover a sense of independence. Perhaps not the total independence, that we're talking about some big, Jivan Mukta and so on and so forth, Raman Maharshi and all those. Forget about those people. But just from the standpoint of what your life is and what it can be in terms of becoming much more independent and therefore joyful, yep, done deal. You will see that life ceases to have the hold that you thought you did. A lot of people ask me, and I ask myself, how much have I gained? Where am I? And as you study Vedanta and you become very serious about it, not serious, but dedicated about it and so on, you will be honest with yourself in terms of evaluating yourself. Where am I? And successes are so lovely, so beautiful, that it energizes you for saying, wow, this thing is working. Nobody may feel it. You may still look like you are a strange person and all that. People don't acknowledge easily. Even if they feel there's some good things happening, they won't tell you. For some reason, they will not share that with you. Why should I tell him he's doing very well? Let him figure it out himself, because he may revert back to the bad behavior after all anyway. So if I praise him too much, no one is going to. You are your own evaluator. And I tell you, it is a joy just to evaluate. And just to give you a couple of examples, I don't want to just talk about me. I'm just giving you a kind of a stamp of approval for the kind of life that this can lead you to. I remember when I retired about year 2000, about 17 years ago. It normally happens. I was lucky that I was teaching Vedanta anyway, so I had some important things to do. So it wasn't I was searching for, what should I do, and people don't want to retire because they'll get bored, and how much golf can you play, and all that kind of thing. That didn't happen to me. But at the same time, I had lots of free time that I didn't have before. And I've always prided myself from being financially and economically clever and wise and investing my money and so on and so forth. So I thought this is a natural thing. I'm going to continue to make more time for myself, learn investments and so on and so forth. And that'll be, amongst other things, gardening. I mean, I can give you, my whole life flashes in front of me. Gardening and this, that, or the other, and everything, all kinds of things. But anyways, going back to the financial things, I thought, I'm going to really become very educated now that I have the time. One very good thing happened right away. This is all Ishvara's doing, really. I lost a lot of money in the stock market right away. One foolishness gone. In fact, what happened was that when I first retired, it was the 2000, everything was going up, and I was making money hands over fist. And I thought, I am such a wise person. Why didn't I do this before? So I would study the marketplace. I'll have NCB and CNBC in the morning, and do my own investments and this, that, or the other. And I really made a lot of money in about a year or so. Then all of a sudden it crashed, and I lost more money than I gained. Best thing that happened to me. Ishvara was very kind to me. I just gave my whole books to her. I said, you take care of it. I am not doing this. But at the same time, my interest in what was economic, because I was very educated in terms of that, so I would study Wall Street Journal, Business Week, Economist. Economist is a kind of a tough magazine to read because it has, deep language and so on. So it would take me a long time to do, but I was committed to do it. And of course, the local newspaper. San Jose Mercury. I was reading all of this. Imagine how much time it was taking. And I was enjoying doing this. One by one, I reasoned with myself, why am I reading Economist? Forget about it. After a year, I gave up my subscription to Wall Street Journal. Then came Business Week. And to my joy, I wasn't missing anything. Really. I was not missing anything. It was okay. Then, of course, the best thing was that the news and the internet came up. Google News came up. And I never really watched television anyway. You'll be happy to know that 5 months ago, I gave up the subscription to San Jose Mercury also. We get no newspapers, and do you know, I am a lot happier. I don't miss it. If there is some fire or somewhere, I can easily read it within the 10 minutes or so. And that's it, I'm done with. Modi ji's problems, this, that, or the other, GST, another 10 minutes. Done with. I am at peace with myself. This is just only one of those things. Gardening, I gave up 6 years ago. I thought it was absolutely stupidity. I spent so much time gardening, and those darn things wouldn't come up the way I want them to be. And you go to the Indian store, you get much better. What was the big deal? I don't understand it just because I want to be a good gardener. And I remember there were some friends who would come in and say, wow, you're a very good gardener. That was it. Just some simple ego satisfaction. Now when people come in and I say, there's been there's been a drought, so I don't do any gardening. So I make an excuse out of it. Happy there's no gardening. I am much more independent. And I'm just giving you a small sample. And my appreciation of Vedanta, of Ishvara, I am more independent. I am discovering the joy that I am, which I was missing because I was so busy being with so many different silly things. You don't need to go to movies, plays, nothing. I'm happy the way I am. So this is not just theoretical. You have to lead the life in a way where, so when we say asatoma sadgamaya, tamasoma jyotirgamaya, it really just means that can you please let me become more independent? Because our end point is complete independence. And not only that, the other thing is that we give such reality to people, how they should behave with me. I give so much reality to it. And I don't give enough reality to ourselves. Ignore them. Let them go. Make yourself free. Smile. The inner freedom is just absolutely amazing. And unless you are educated, you won't do this unless there is some sense of self-peace waiting for you to discover. Because your feeling is, what if I give up my Wall Street Journal also? And I give up my gardening also? And I don't go to the movies also? What am I going to do? I'm going to be just bored. No. You're not going to be bored if you study the right way. This is the thing, you ask somebody, why don't you study Vedanta? So he says, no, I cannot study Vedanta because I don't have the time. I'm very busy. Well, free up yourself. Then our fear is that Vedanta may not really interest me. You're right. I think that education requires dedication, study, discovery, one step at a time. And until the time is really not that much time is left. Life is ebbing away. And you'll get many other chances. It's not as though this is the only one. But you'll have to repeat the whole thing all over again. That's where Bhagavad Gita and Krishna says that, please, Arjuna asks him, he says, what happens if I study all this and by the time I'm not done yet and my body expires? Krishna says, you think I will just let you start all over again? No. He says, I remember everyone, where they are, how sincere they are. And you start. You do not finish, doesn't matter. So in summary, I would say that please do not be complacent that you're an educated person. You are not. Unless you have gained a sense of independence, simplicity, poise, not dependent on other things. People not calling you. How are you doing, Dad? No. Let them not call. They're busy. It's okay. You don't need to. So we're not educated. And here is an opportunity for us to get an introduction to education. So this is a small segment, 65 verses, written by an absolute master. Vidyarama Swami is not well regarded for nothing. He has, in the short span of 700 years, gained the kind of respect and adherence that very few people have. Both he and his teacher, Swami Shankaranandaji, know the subject by heart and know the implications of leading a life sincerely by heart. I won't have time to really, perhaps we'll do that some other time, but his contributions as the maker of the Vijayanagar empire for 300 years is exemplary. He just did an absolutely marvelous job of creating the atmosphere of truthfulness, of having a kingdom which is based on, just like Rama, the Rama Rajya. He is very well known. Recently it was interesting, Subramanya Swami had given a very good speech at the IIT in, I forget, it was in Kanpur or somewhere. Beautiful speech. It's on the YouTube, I read that recently. He said, people criticize us for revising the history, that we are now throwing away the Muslim rules and the British rule, and we are throwing away names. He says, do you know the distortion of people's thinking in our history? Incredible. You ask people about Akbar and Humayun and his sons and so on and so forth, people know this by heart. We were drilled into it, our exams and so on. And he says, do you know how long the Vijayanagar empire lasted under Swami Vidyaranya's tutelage? 325 years. It's a long time for a beautiful kingdom to be established. And he says, you have to learn how to do that. You have to learn the history. It's been buried. Anyway, I don't want to go into that. So, extremely competent person. Swami Maheshananji was saying that his teachings are characterized by giving examples that are easier to understand. And so he was very, just like the Bhagavad Gita, very desirous of making sure that the average person gets a chance to be educated, which we are not. Part of the thing we all say, is very interesting, that all this must be all mumbo jumbo, very subtle, only the Maharshis, and I am a nobody, what am I going to do? And I must say, my thanks to Swami Dayanandji, Swami Chinmanand also, but much more so Swami Dayanandji. What I learned from him was, this is fun stuff, worth understanding, and anyone can do it, especially already educated ones, and do it. And the more I got into the intricacies of Vedanta, I found that this has the truth and the interest for me, which was missing in my life. It was not just chanting and so on and so forth. It's a deep understanding of what is it that it powers our life. So Swami Vidyananda also was very interested in making sure that just like in the case of Bhagavad Gita also, that's why the beauty of all of these books is that the so-called average person should grasp it and learn and be educated. Anyway, so I will talk more about him and so he was born in the 14th century, about 1300 years, and lived until at the age of 87. For the last 7 years, he became the Acharya at the Sringeri Mutt, and it's not only the highest level of people are appointed there. He didn't stay there for long before he died, but he made a deep mark about it. And to this day, if you go to Sringeri Mutt and you talk to the Acharyas, they will highly recommend Panchadasi as the book to study. Just a wonderful one. I know that from experience. One of my American friends, James, told me that. He went to Sringeri and he was immediately given Panchadasi. Because they didn't know that he also knew a little bit about Upanishads. So not knowing that, but they had the highest regard for Panchadasi. Anyway. So let us start. So one thing I would like to say, in fact, I think I should talk a little bit about that. Yeah, a few more minutes on texts and so on and so forth. I didn't get a chance to send you a questionnaire ahead of time, which I was planning to do. I was so sick yesterday, I didn't get time to do it. I'll probably do that by tomorrow or the day after. So what I'd like to do is to send you a sheet to fill out with your name and so on, and particularly what books you would like to have. What books you would like to have, because Jugal has been working with me to procure these books from India, and you can get it yourself also, but I think it'll be better if you just wait until for about 2-3 weeks or so. I think it's about it'll take, and Motilal Banarsi Das we will tell them to just hurry up as much as possible. Really speaking, you don't need any books. The text that I sent you a copy of is enough. Because you really should just be listening to the exposition that I will give based on Swami Maheshanandaji's, because I taught this about in the year 2004. But I must say that I'm not like Swami Dayanandji or Swami Viditatmanandaji. I am still growing. Every time I read some more Mahatmas, my understanding gets better. So my teaching of Panchadasi Chapter 1, I think will be better than it was, 13 years ago. And I ascribe this to Swami Maheshanandaji. I'll talk about him a little bit some other time, but what a gift of Ishvara that he has given me. And I am just totally in sync with his thinking. Marvelous. Anyway, I'll discuss all of that. So what I want to do is to summarize the following. So one thing I would do is that I mentioned to you that Vedanta 101 is Tattva Bodha. This is Panchadasi is Vedanta 201. And it would be much better if you knew Tattva Bodha by already. So let me just do this. This is a booklet that we published. It's 46 pages, so I don't know how long how much it will be. Probably $5, maybe $6, something like that. So let me do this. Let me get a show of hands, because I have a few, but I don't have enough. How many people would like to get a copy of Tattva Bodha? And keep your hands up, and I want to count it. Okay? So just hold on for a while. I'll start from the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll just go this way. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I'll make about 25 copies. And because some of the people who are not here may also want it. Okay, and I think I have a few already, but I do need to print. Okay, that's not what I want to do.
Suppose you already sent a link in your email. So I clicked on the link and it takes you to the bookshop and you can download the Veda. So I downloaded it.
Ah, that's a different thing. So what I'm talking about is just the text itself without any commentaries. You see, just like I sent you the text for Panchadasi, it just has the words and so on and so forth. So Swami Paramarthananda produced it for us in 2004. Yeah, so I just want to get a general idea, so I will do that. Okay. Number 2. Okay, so before I do that, this is what I started doing today. There is a direct Shishya of Swami Vidyaranya by the name of Ramakrishna. And he has written a commentary about his guru's works on the entire 15 chapters. It is not an exhaustive commentary, but it is a good commentary and clarifies some of the things that needed to be clarified. So it's of some importance, but it is not considered to be a work of great work by itself. Nevertheless, this commentary by Ramakrishna has been translated into a number of languages, including the one from the Ramakrishna Mutt, which is not the same as Ramakrishna. This is the Vedanta Center. So Swami Swahananda has written an English translation of this. That's this book right here. And this you can get locally, but I think it'll be better if we also ask Motilal Banarsi Das to send us multiple copies of that. And it's a very popular book, not that helpful in terms of a detailed commentary. It's just a short translation in English, but it's good. You should. It'll be nice for you to do that. So this is number 2. Then there is a Hindi translation of Ramakrishna's book. Written by Acharya Krishnananda Sagara. And this also is just a Hindi translation of the Ramakrishna's book, very much like the English translation. A little bit more voluminous, but not exhaustive. For those that know Hindi, this may be a good book to get. I hope it is still in print because I got this in the year 2000. In fact, my grounding of Panchadasi was based on this book. Because Swami Dayanandji took maybe 1 or 2 chapters of it, but not the entire book. He didn't get enough time to do so. So I pretty much studied that on my own at the year of 2000, 2001. And this was the book that I used. At this point in time, I won't use it because I've discovered something better. But anyway, as a archival thing for those of you that know Hindi, I would recommend it. And we have to ask if they still have it in print, Jugal. Right, that brings me to this book. This is the book that was published last year, one of the more recent books in 4 volumes by Swami Maheshanandji in Hindi. In Hindi, it is available in Hindi. This is the one that turned me on again to a complete study, and I'm now doing 6 chapters out of the 15. But I decided right there and then that the first chapter that he commented on is a very good introduction as 201. And that's when I decided to teach this. If you are Hindi speaking, number 1, And if you can afford this, if you don't mind doing this is like what, $25, $30 I think for a set of 4 volumes. Highly recommend it. Also, one other thing is not ordinary Hindi. In fact, maybe 15, 16 years ago, I would have really struggled through that. It requires a fairly deep understanding of Sanskritam, highly Sanskritized Hindi. I was discussing this with Swami Viditatmananda last year, and he says, wow, every other word is Sanskrit word. Yes, but what makes it easier for me is that the grammar in Hindi, and so I'm able to really grasp it. So I'm very lucky to get that. Anyway, so I would ask for those of you that have this narrow qualification about the Hindi and Sanskritized Hindi to let me know. And then please do so in the next. I'm going to send this tomorrow probably, hopefully. If not, then day after. Please send this back to us in terms of what books you need, and then we'll order it right away. Again, I would summarize to say you don't need to do anything. Tattva Bodha, apart from Tattva Bodha, Panchadasi, you don't need anything. Just listen to the exposition based on Swami Maheshananji. I think I'm done with
Is the red book as Sanskritized Hindi?
Not as much. It is simpler Hindi. From what I haven't studied it recently, but if I could understand it 13 years ago, no, this is much simpler Hindi. So that's a good point that you people that, yeah. Okay. Any questions on the text part of it before I start the main class? Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the terms used 101 and 201. What is this?
So 101 means that Vedanta is just basically an advanced study that requires the fundamentals of, let's say, biology. If you were to become a medical doctor, you cannot do that without you understand what biology 101 is. So you have to really know all of the terminology, the relative aspects of each other, all of those kinds of things. Then starts the whole study. So 101 to me would be an introduction to Vedanta. Where this one is a little more advanced introduction to Vedanta. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
So what books do you recommend in the beginning?
Well, this is what I said, that it all depends on. So what I would say is, I should say one other thing before I answer your question. Panchadasi is one of the most frequently commented book in India, probably next to Bhagavad Gita. So you will get lots of commentaries on it in different. My recommendation would be that if you are familiar with a vernacular language and you feel comfortable with it, supposing you are a Telugu speaking person and you are still in touch with Telugu, then please try to find a book by an author of a Telugu author on this. Okay, so, and I don't know all of them. I only know Hindi. So I cannot tell. But I know, for example, Anjali Deshmukh, who's coming back, who she's already back, her mother used to teach Panchadasi in Marathi using a book, and she's extremely happy with that. So she's bringing a Marathi version of that for herself. So now I can answer your question. I would say, other than Tattva Bodha, you don't need to buy anything. Nothing. Just listen to the classes, take notes, and ask questions, and dialogue with me, and so on. If, on the other hand, you are Hindi speaking, then I think for your future, because I think that I'm not going to continue with more than one chapter. Already interrupted Dakshinamurti Stotram. A couple of people are not very happy with me for having interrupted that, especially Narayan. Narayan wants me to make sure that I complete it. So I have I'll make a commitment that I will go back to it. But although I may not go back to it, you may actually want to continue your own study. And so for that, find a book on vernacular. The English one it's okay. Nothing. English has a disadvantage anyway because the vocabulary is translated. Because the advantage of Hindi and other books is that the vocabulary is the same. Adhyatma is Adhyatma. And to make it into an English, you have to say centralized based on the Atma. It doesn't give the right meaning, and so on. So anyway, did I answer your question?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
But also on the YouTube, can you listen to you on YouTube? These lectures.
These lectures?
Your lectures are.
Yes, of course. Yeah. We're setting up to do that. In fact, Chawla was telling me that I have not sent those instructions very well, and I will do so. You can either, you don't have to come here every evening because the traffic on Tuesday night is so bad. I think come once in a while. In fact, when I send you a questionnaire, please indicate to me. That reminds me. I see some people have not registered and they're still here. So kindly put your name down. And can you please give one on each section? Put your name down and indicate whether you're going to be here primarily or not.
If we've already registered, do we?
No, I've already indicated there. The only sign if you have not registered, because I have your names and I'll send it out to everybody. Right? Okay. All right, let's begin. The title of the first chapter is called Tattva Viveka Prakaranam. Tattva Viveka Prakaranam. So the word Tattva comes from the word Tat. Tat is the sum for that. That means Tat. So, implicit in the word that is remoteness. Because if something is not remote, then it will be this, not that. But the word that represents remoteness. Tattvam means the quality of being remote. Now, the remoteness means tat. Here, technically refers to Ishvara. And the thought here is that even though Ishvara is not remote, I don't understand Ishvara to be not remote. So I take Ishvara to be remote. I don't find him anywhere around. He must be away from me someplace. That's my assumption. It's a wrong assumption, but it's my assumption. What can I do? I have to start somewhere. So tattva, in that sense, has two meanings. One is that it is the quality of remoteness, and the quality of remoteness ultimately resolves into non-remoteness. So, the other meaning of tattva is not only that it is not remote, in fact, that is the truth about the remoteness. Okay, so this is the very brief. We'll come back to all of these things in more detail. I'm just giving you a brief introduction to the title. Tattva. Viveka means discriminative inquiry. Because if something is not remote and you take it to be a remote, that means that you're making some mistake somewhere. You're not understanding the truth about it. How is it that I need to understand the truth is called viveka. Viveka technically is a specialized form of vichara. Vichara is a very important word that we will dwell on later on. And in fact, the way of leading your life in order to make the improvements, to become more independent, as we were discussing, it all comes from vichara. And all other aspects of learning, including coming to the classes, reading texts, and so on, only lead up to the real sadhana for viveka, which is vichara. You have to employ your own mind in a way where your thinking is meaningful and leads you into some kind of into a good outcome. That is called vichara. Now, viveka is a specialized form of vichara. Viveka means a vichara of two things that are mixed up with each other. General vichara is analyzing a complex set of issues. Like for example, tax laws in the US. There's not a viveka. You don't require a viveka, you need vichara. What are the implications? How poor will be affected? The trickle-down economics and all of those kinds of things is called vichara. Viveka is a special form of vichara where two things are mixed up with each other. To resolve them is called viveka. So, tattva viveka means the kind of discriminative inquiry that allows me to understand non-remoteness of Ishvara, which is the truth. So this chapter is devoted to tattva viveka. And then other chapters are going to talk about Panchabhuta Viveka, Panchakosha Viveka, and we will hopefully give you an introduction to it even before this course finishes. We won't go into the details of it, but we will do so. But this one is the overall inquiry into the truth of things, called Tattva Viveka. So with that, I still have 10 minutes, and let me go into the very first verse itself. Namah Shri Shankarananda Guru Padambu Janmane Savilasa Maha Moha Graha Grasaika Karmane. Beautiful verse, beautifully described by Swami Maheshananji. Just marvelous. And I need more than 10 minutes for that, but let's get started. Then we will do that. So he says, my salutations to Sri Shankarananda, which is his own Guru, Guru Padambu Janmane Savilasa Maha Moha Graha Grasaika Karmane. So my salutations to the lotus feet of my Guru Shankarananda, whose only job is to swallow with leaving no trace whatsoever the crocodile of life, which seems to bother me all the time. Namah Shri Shankarananda Guru Padambu Janmane Savilasa. Savilasa means, vilasa means one which is a expansion. So for example, the waves of an ocean is the vilasa of the water. Beautiful waves and surf and this, that or the other. Just amazing. This is called vilasa. Similarly, when you dream, you expand your awareness into a variety of very interesting experiences called vilasa. So similarly in the daytime also, savilasa is nothing but the expansion of my mind, and the expansion of the mind is troublesome because of my dependencies. They seem like there is a crocodile-like creature that seems to swallow my happiness all the time. I'm continuously fighting it. This moment you are feeling okay. Next moment you have a headache. That moment you are okay. Then you're hungry. Then you get a bad news about someone. It's just one after the other. And I don't know what else to do. I just cope up with it. So he says that my namaskara to the lotus feet. So we'll go into one of them. What do you mean by lotus feet? In fact, there are two of them. Lotus feet means there are two. A great explanation for that. Why two? What do you mean by lotus? What is the meaning of lotus? And so on. So we'll spend quite a bit of time on this. So one thing I wanted to just comment on, I'm just picking out some words from the middle. It's not going from the beginning to the end and so on. At the end of that, we will all put it together. I'm going to use to comment the word called Guru. Guru. So we just chanted Gukarastu Andakaro Vai Rukarastu Nivartakaha Andakara Nirodhitvat Guru Thyabhidhiyate. So here Swami Maheshananji points out so beautifully. He says, it is not this guy sitting in front of you who is the Guru. It is not Ishvara who is the Guru. You know what the Guru is? The Guru is your direct knowledge that I am not bound. I am not bound. I am intrinsically free. And this sakshat karanam, this direct understanding of your own. So the Guru is your own knowledge, resident in your own mind. And yes, this fellow sitting there teaching can help you a little bit. Ishvara can help you. All of those are sahakari karanam. But the main karanam which will free you is understanding. Beautiful. And so you can see the implications of that. It is not like, they say that please bow to the Guru, do whatever he wants you to do, give him money, all kinds of things, this, that, or the other. None of that. If you want to do it, it's okay, I won't refuse it. But really speaking, the one you need to worship, the one you need to protect, to make sure that it is well done, well protected, not frittered away with the wind, the flame, is your own knowledge. And the knowledge also has to be invoked. It's like fire. So you have to learn how to light the fire and to keep it lit up until it brightens your own mind and you say, wow, my goodness, that is the real Guru. And so the Guru here means the one that removes the darkness. What is going to remove your darkness? Your own mind, your educated mind. So in this verse, dual meanings are used. And I will explain that next time. We're running out of time. Dual meanings are used. He salutes his own Guru as a human being. And he says, I'm highly indebted to you for lighting up this fire in my mind that has finally dispelled the darkness of my personality. So he is highly indebted to the person. But the second meaning of that is for every one of them, Namaha, Shri, Shankara, Anandaha, Guru we just did. You see, so the Guru we already covered one thing, the dual meaning of Guru. One is the teacher, and the other one is the real Guru, which is your own knowledge. So similarly, we are going to do a duality for each one of them. Namaha Shri Shankara Ananda Guruhu Padambu Janmane Savilasam Mahamoha. Then we're going to stop with this word moha. Important word. What do you mean by moha? Graha Grasaika Karmane. So all of this we will examine, and we will milk the cow of this very important first verse, which is pregnant with so many meanings. And so we will go into this in more detail next time, and then continue on. So with that, I'll just close the class with a small prayer. I think you already know this, but you can just for once repeat after me so that you know the correct pronunciation. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya. You can just repeat after me. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya. Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. मृत्योर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. Okay. So sorry, no questions today. We ran out of time. Yeah, Chalo, you had something?
No, the